I never thought I'd be afraid of a goldfish. But here I am, sitting in my bathroom with the door locked, terrified of what's swimming in the tank in my living room. You probably think I'm crazy. I would too. But let me tell you what happened, and maybe you'll understand why I haven't slept in 3 days. It started when my girlfriend moved out. After 2 years together, she decided we weren't compatible. She took most of her things, but left behind her goldfish, Bubbles. I didn't want the responsibility, but I couldn't just flush the poor thing. So I kept it. The first week was uneventful. I fed it, changed its water, and barely paid attention to it otherwise. Then one night I was sitting on my couch watching TV when I heard something.
Hello.
The voice was so faint I thought I'd imagined it. I muted the TV and listened. Nothing. I turned the volume back up and continued watching.
I'm hungry.
This time, I definitely heard it. A whisper, coming from somewhere in my apartment. I got up and checked every room, looking behind doors and under furniture. Nothing. I was alone. I convinced myself it was just the neighbors or the pipes making noise. I went back to the couch.
Feed me.
The voice was clearer now. I froze, my eyes darting around the room until they landed on the fish tank. Bubbles was floating there, staring at me. Not swimming, just staring. I laughed at myself for being so paranoid. Of course, the fish wasn't talking. I was just stressed from the breakup. I got up and sprinkled some fish food into the tank. Bubbles immediately swam to the surface and began eating. I could have sworn I heard a satisfied hum, but I dismissed it. Fish don't hum. Fish don't talk. That night, I had trouble sleeping. I kept thinking about the voice, about Bubbles staring at me. I told myself I was being ridiculous. It was just a goldfish, a simple, ordinary goldfish. The next morning, I woke up exhausted. I shuffled to the kitchen to make coffee, passing by the fish tank. I glanced at it out of habit. Bubbles was floating upside down, dead. I felt a pang of guilt. Had I not fed it enough? Was the water too cold? I sighed and went to get a plastic bag to dispose of the body. When I returned to the tank, Bubbles was swimming normally, circling the little plastic castle in the center. I blinked hard, wondering if I was still half asleep. The fish was definitely alive, swimming energetically around the tank.
That wasn't funny.
I dropped the plastic bag. The voice was unmistakable this time, and it was coming from the direction of the tank. I approached slowly, my heart pounding.
Pretending to be dead, classic joke. Got you good.
I backed away from the tank, nearly tripping over my coffee table. This wasn't happening. Fish don't play dead as a joke. Fish don't talk. I was losing my mind. I called in sick to work and spent the day researching goldfish. Nothing I found suggested they could communicate or had any form of higher intelligence. They certainly couldn't speak English. I was just stressed, I told myself. Hearing things. That evening I invited my friend over. I needed someone else in the apartment, someone to confirm I wasn't going crazy.
So this is the famous Bubbles, huh?
My friend tapped on the glass and Bubbles swam over to his finger.
Don't do that, it hurts my ears.
I froze, waiting for my friend's reaction. But he just continued tapping the glass, smiling.
Cute little guy. How old is he?
He hadn't heard it. The voice was clear as day to me. But my friend hadn't heard a thing.
He can't hear me, only you can.
I felt sick. I made an excuse about not feeling well and my friend left. As soon as the door closed behind him, I turned to the tank.
Finally, we're alone. We need to talk.
I approached the tank cautiously.
I'm not a goldfish.
I stared at the orange fish swimming in circles.
Well, I am now, but I wasn't always. I was like you once. Human.
I must be dreaming, I thought. Or hallucinating. This couldn't be real.
Your girlfriend didn't buy me at a pet store. She made a deal.
I found my voice, finally.
What kind of deal?
Oh, he speaks. I was beginning to think you were the fish.
Bubbles swam to the front of the tank, pressing against the glass, eyes fixed on me.
Your girlfriend wanted out of your relationship, but she felt guilty. She made a deal with someone who offered a solution. Transfer your consciousness into a goldfish and leave you behind to take care of it. That way, she wouldn't have to feel bad about abandoning you completely.
This was insane. Completely insane.
Who are you?
I was her previous boyfriend, the one before you. I've been swimming in circles for 3 years now.
I backed away from the tank, shaking my head.
If it's impossible.
Is it? Ask yourself why she left the fish behind, why she insisted you take care of it. She visits, doesn't she? Checks on Bubbles regularly?
It was true. My ex still came by once a week to check on Bubbles. I had thought it was just an excuse to make sure I was doing okay after the breakup.
She's not checking on you, she's checking on me, making sure I'm still here, still suffering.
I couldn't process what I was hearing. It was too bizarre, too horrifying.
And now she's found someone new, which means soon, very soon, you'll be joining me in here.
I felt cold all over. This couldn't be happening.
The tank isn't big enough for 2 fish, one of us will have to go. And I've been here longer.
I backed away from the tank, nearly knocking over a lamp.
You're lying. This isn't real.
Check her phone next time she visits. Look for messages to someone named Madame Voss. That's who did this to me. That's who will do it to you.
I spent the night on my bathroom floor, as far from the fish tank as possible. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Bubbles staring at me. Those unblinking fish eyes somehow filled with human malice. The next morning, my ex called. She wanted to come by to check on Bubbles. I almost said no, but then I remembered what the fish had told me. I needed to see her phone. When she arrived, she went straight to the tank, cooing at Bubbles like he was a baby.
How's my special little guy doing? Are you taking good care of him?
I watched her carefully. Was she really talking to her ex-boyfriend? Was any of this real?
He's fine. I feed him twice a day, just like you showed me.
But he's very special to me.
She stayed for coffee. When she went to the bathroom, I did something I'd never done before. I checked her phone. It was a breach of privacy, but I had to know if I was losing my mind. There it was, a conversation with someone named Madame Voss. I scrolled through quickly, my hand shaking. The preparation is almost complete, one message read. Bring him on the full moon, the vessel must be ready. Another message, remember, once the transfer is complete, you must keep both vessels separate. The older consciousness will try to eliminate the newer one. I put the phone down just as I heard the bathroom door open. My ex returned, smiling as if nothing was wrong.
I should get going. Thanks for taking care of Bubbles. I'll be back next week.
As she was leaving, she turned to me with an odd expression.
Oh, by the way, there's a full moon this Saturday. Want to have dinner at my place? For old time's sake?
My blood ran cold. Saturday, the full moon. The vessel must be ready.
I can't. I'm busy.
That's too bad. Another time then.
After she left, I rushed to the fish tank. Bubbles was swimming frantically back and forth.
She's gonna do it. She's gonna put you in here with me.
Why? Why would she do this?
Power, control. Some people can't let go. They need to keep their exes close, under their thumb. What better way than as a pet?
I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but the evidence was right there on her phone. The messages to Madame Voss, the full moon, the vessel.
You need to get rid of me. Flush me down the toilet. It's the only way to save yourself.
I hesitated. If this was real, I'd be killing a person. If it wasn't, I'd be killing an innocent fish, because I was having a mental breakdown.
Do it before she comes back. She'll know if you try to run, she'll find you. The only way out is to destroy the vessel, me.
I reached for the net I used to clean the tank. Bubbles swam frantically away from it.
Wait, I was lying. Don't do this.
I paused, the net hovering above the water.
If you flush me, she'll just get another fish. Another vessel. You can't escape that way.
Then how? How do I stop this?
Madame Voss, you need to find her. Destroy her spellbook. It's the only way to free me and save yourself.
I lowered the net, my mind racing.
Where do I find her?
I don't know exactly. But your girlfriend does. You need to follow her. She'll lead you to Voss.
I spent the next day trailing my ex. She went to work, then to the gym, then home. Nothing suspicious. But on Friday, she left her apartment at midnight and drove to the outskirts of town. I followed at a distance, my heart pounding. She parked outside a small house with blackened windows. A hand-painted sign hung by the door, Madame Voss, spiritual consultant. I waited in my car until my ex emerged an hour later, carrying a small package. She drove away, and I remained, watching the house. The lights went out around 2 a.m. I made my move. Breaking in was surprisingly easy. The lock was old, and a credit card did the trick. Inside, the house smelled of incense and something else. Something rotten. I used my phone's flashlight to navigate through rooms filled with strange artifacts, dried herbs, and jars containing things I couldn't identify. In the back room, I found what I was looking for. A large, ancient-looking book on a pedestal. It was open to a page titled Consciousness Transference. There were diagrams of fish, birds, and other small animals with human faces drawn inside them. I took out my lighter, ready to set the book ablaze, when I heard a voice behind me.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
I spun around. An elderly woman stood in the doorway, her silhouette illuminated by the moonlight streaming through the window.
Your girlfriend said you might come. She said you were clever.
What have you done to Bubbles? Was he really human?
Bubbles? Oh, the goldfish. No, dear, it's just a fish.
I felt a wave of relief, followed immediately by dread. If Bubbles was just a fish, then I really was losing my mind.
The fish isn't possessed by a human consciousness. It's much simpler than that. Your girlfriend paid me to cast a spell that would make you think the fish was talking to you. A simple madness spell. She wanted to have you committed. Something about you getting everything in the breakup. The apartment, the car. She felt it was unfair.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A madness spell. That was almost more ridiculous than a consciousness transfer.
You expect me to believe in magic?
You're here, aren't you? You followed a talking fish's instructions to find me. Either you believe already, or you're as mad as she wanted you to be.
She had a point. I had broken into a stranger's house because a goldfish told me to.
The good news is, I can lift the spell. For a price, of course.
I was about to respond when my phone buzzed. A text from my ex. Where are you? I'm at your apartment. Bubbles is acting strange. A chill ran down my spine. She was in my apartment. With Bubbles.
You should go. Your girlfriend is quite resourceful and quite dangerous when crossed.
I ran back to my car and drove home as fast as I could. When I arrived, the door to my apartment was ajar. Inside, my ex was standing by the fish tank, a strange vial in her hand.
There you are. I was just about to feed Bubbles a special treat.
I looked at the tank. Bubbles was swimming in frantic circles.
Don't let her do it. That's not food, it's poison.
The fish's voice was clear in my head. Was it real? Was any of this real?
Madame Voss called me, said you paid her a visit. That wasn't very nice of you.
What are you doing?
Cleaning up loose ends. The fish knows too much, and so do you.
She uncapped the vial and held it over the tank.
Stop her, please.
I lunged forward and knocked the vial from her hand. It shattered on the floor, releasing a foul-smelling liquid.
You idiot, do you know how much that cost me?
She slapped me hard across the face. I stumbled backward, knocking into the fish tank. It teetered precariously, then crashed to the floor. Water, glass, and one small goldfish spilled across my living room carpet. My ex screamed and dropped to her knees, frantically searching for Bubbles among the broken glass.
No, 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 where is he? Find him.
I stood frozen, watching her panic. Bubbles was flopping weakly on the carpet, gasping. I could still hear his voice, fainter now.
Help me.
I didn't know what to believe anymore. Was Bubbles just a fish? Or was he a man trapped in a fish's body? Was my ex trying to drive me insane? Or was she really involved in some dark magic? As I watched her desperately searching for the dying fish, I made my decision. I stepped forward and carefully picked up Bubbles, cradling him in my palm.
I'll save him. But you need to tell me the truth. All of it.
Just put him in some water, quickly.
I walked to the kitchen and filled a bowl with water, then gently placed Bubbles in it. He began swimming weakly.
Thank you.
The voice was so faint now I could barely hear it. I turned to my ex, who was watching me with a strange expression.
Now tell me everything. Is he human? Are you working with Madame Voss? What's going on?
She looked at me for a long moment, then sighed.
You're not going to believe me.
Try me.
Bubbles is just a fish. A normal goldfish. Madame Voss cast a spell to make you think he was talking to you. I wanted you to seem crazy so I could get the apartment back.
It was the same story Madame Voss had told me. It made sense. It was rational. Well, as rational as a madness spell could be.
She's lying.
The voice was stronger now. Bubbles was swimming in circles in the bowl, staring at me.
Ask her about the others, the ones before me.
I looked at my ex, then at Bubbles, then back at my ex.
Are there others? Other vessels?
Her face went pale.
How could you possibly know about that?
And in that moment, I knew. Bubbles wasn't just a fish, and I wasn't going crazy. I'm writing this now from my bathroom, where I've locked myself in. My ex is still in the apartment, trying to get to Bubbles, who is in here with me, swimming in the sink. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to trust. All I know is that I'm afraid of a goldfish, and even more afraid of the woman who gave him to me.
Let me tell you what really happened to the others. Let me tell you what she's planning for you. Let me tell you why she really keeps coming back.
And so I listen to a goldfish with a man's voice telling me horrors I can scarcely believe. Because in a world where fish can talk, anything is possible, even the darkest nightmares.